BBOR Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Black Box Ned 88 on Instagram for the bonus podcast. And just a quick reminder, every Monday is Zodiac Mondays. Wednesday is an Ask Me Anything. That's an AMA, so please drop your questions below for things that you would like discussed here on the show. And Friday is an Anything Goes. Any subject is fair game, mostly talking about true crime, serial killers, the Zodiac Killer, but any subject is welcome. All right, so please share some ideas in the comment section about what you would like to hear about on this channel, and let's get started. Okay, hello everybody. It is Wednesday, and it is our AMA Ask Me Anything, but we will be doing something different this week. I have just taken my first ever Katy pill. Katy. This was described online as a legal alternative to ecstasy, and I wanted to do this exactly in the way that they recommend this. First, I should say that I got this for $20 online. It was like $19.99, and you got 4 of these Katy pills, and I took it about 30 minutes ago, and it says, take 1 capsule on an empty stomach or 60 minutes after a meal. Check. I wanted to do this exactly as they say here in this little pamphlet, just so, like if it doesn't do anything, that you can't blame it on not following the instructions. Allow 45 to 90 minutes for peak effects and benefits, smooth euphoria, enhanced dopamine levels, optimized serotonin, and improved connectivity. Well, it's also important to say that I have never done ecstasy before, so I can't really compare and contrast, but I just saw this stuff on the internet and I thought I would give it a try. It was $20. I didn't feel like I was breaking the bank or anything, but more importantly, I also wanted to put something like this out there because in case this thing turns out to be a dud, somebody might click on this link on this far off corner of YouTube and then find out that, alright, this thing is a piece of crap or something like that, but so far nothing has happened yet. I should also note that when I purchased this from the website, I think that they said you're supposed to wait 20 to 30 minutes for the optimal effects to kick in, so it's been just under 30 minutes since I've taken the first pill, and let's just see what happens with this. Maybe something will happen, maybe absolutely nothing. And in the meantime, I will first drop one quick announcement. This channel's going pretty well here, Black Box Online Radio, and I say going pretty well because we have had our first ever strike from the YouTube overlords. Yes, yesterday I received a notification saying that the channel had its first ever strike, and that is because I did an episode once called Odd Facts about missing persons cases, and somebody claimed that there was something wrong with it. It was a copyright strike, but that was an episode that I did back in 2019 that maybe 35 people listened to it, and I think probably only 3 people in the entire world actually heard the whole thing, and probably Roland, Joy, Isaiah, you guys are awesome. But in terms of the copyright strike, I did appeal it because it doesn't use any media or music or anything that wasn't shared. And at that point, I mean, I don't even remember if I read off somebody else's article, and they can't let me see what I did wrong until the strike is going through the appeal process. But perhaps that'll turn out to be nothing, and it is the first strike against the channel, so that is not the end of the world. But still, if you're getting stuff like that, that means, and hopefully that means that something is going well. And in the meantime, while I wait for this Katy pill to kick in, Katy, Molly's sister, I'll be responding to your questions and comments. And why don't we start with one from the Zodiac Killer mystery? Yes, beginning with a question about the Zodiac Killer, we have one from Super Strike 9 who says, a question I have for the next AMA is, do you think the 1978 letter is legitimate or authentic? The 1978 Zodiac letter, is this something legitimate and actually written by the Zodiac Killer? Well, my short answer is no, and I'm sure you'd probably want some explanation. Why wouldn't the 1978 letter be authentic? Now, to answer this in a very long, twisted, roundabout way, I would say that Firstly, we have to look at something called the Melvin Belli letter. And here, like if you look on the screen, you'll see first a letter that was written after the shooting at Blue Rock Springs when the killer is stating some facts that only he and the police knows. And then you have something called the Melvin Belli letter. And I don't believe that these two were written by the same person. Somebody once asked a question on the channel, do you believe that there were multiple letter writers in the Zodiac Killer mystery? And my short answer to that is absolutely yes. If you have the Melvin Belli letter versus this letter that came after Blue Rock Springs, are you really telling me that these two letters were written by the same person? I would say absolutely not. I'm not a handwriting expert. I'm not somebody like Sherwood Morrill or Michael Wachtel who can like micromanage the angles and examine every single dot and comma and period and find out, hey, look, that's not the same. I don't have any credentials in that, but with the Melvin Belli letter, it doesn't have any of that Zodiac tilt. It doesn't have any of that sloppiness until you get to that final word down there. And I thought, well, wait a second, that one word actually looks like it was written by the same person. But once we go to the 1978 letter, which you can see now, then I want to zone in on a particular word, and that word is Zodiac. And we're going to be going back and forth between the Melvin Belli letter and the 1978 letter. And if we look at that word Zodiac, I'm noticing some certain similarities. And in my own unprofessional, you know, uncertified opinion, I would say that no, I don't believe the 1978 Zodiac letter was written by the actual killer or actual perpetrator, even if you entertain the Zodiac hoax theory that it was written by the same person who wrote the original set of letters. Instead, I would say that somebody else wrote the Melvin Belli letter, and that person went on to write the 1978 letter. That is, I can't give you 100% certainty of that, but that is what I believe happened because I'm noticing certain similarities, like in the writing from the Melvin Belli letter to 1978. But that's a great question, so thank you, Super Strike 9. And why don't we keep going with some Zodiac Killer questions? We have one that comes to us from Roxy Bot, who wrote this in on an episode called Zodiac Killer, My Personal Theories. And if anybody would like to hear what I just lay out about everything that I think about the Zodiac Killer mystery, that is available once again called Zodiac Killer, My Personal Theories, available on this channel. Always inviting you guys to listen to some more content here. And Roxy's question is, could the murders be totally unconnected, except maybe the last two attacks? And the reason why this question is structured this way, I'm almost certain, is because I was talking a lot about the Zodiac hoax theory for a while. I mean, we did the Great Zodiac Killer Hoax of 1986 book discussion, and then we did the open discussion on the Zodiac hoax theory, which was meant to be just a single episode, but then it turned into a 5-part series. And I really wanted to redo the book discussion, and I wanted to do it in somewhat of a more well-organized way that wasn't done so sporadically. Ooh, starting to feel something warm, by the way. I don't know if that's just like my space heater or something like that. But yeah, starting to feel something warm. Maybe. But could the murders be totally unconnected except maybe the last two attacks? That is a criticism that I made about the Zodiac hoax theory that is put forward by Thomas Henry Horn and the myth of the Zodiac Killer. I was saying that the definition of the hoax, or what he calls like the myth of the Zodiac Killer, that's really only relevant to the first two attacks in one variant. I mean, a thing about Thomas Henry Horn is he frequently changes his theory and his some of the details and specifics and how it's all arranged. But I mean, saying that the first two incidents could have actually been either drug related or involving some other types of stolen goods. I mean, Mike Mageau at Blue Rock Spring Park may have had a pillowcase full of material that he wanted to sell to somebody at Blue Rock Springs Park, and that person shot him and took the stolen goods. And somebody wrote letters taking credit for the murders in the hoax theory, mind you, in the hoax theory. But once you get to the Lake Berryessa stabbing, then what I always said was this hoax has taken on a life of its own, and it's not a hoax anymore. If Thomas Henry Horn is going to accuse Dennis Land, the park ranger at Lake Berryessa, of committing that murder, wearing the Zodiac costume, like the hood with the symbol on it and the cross, and the cross and circle, and writing the message on the car door, if anybody committed a murder under the name of the Zodiac killer, then it's not really a hoax. And the second thing is he's also accused Hal Snook, his suspect for writing the letters, as being the murderer of Paul Stine on October 11th of 1969. So except maybe the last two attacks, well, that would mean that the first two, Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs, may have been drug-related, criminal-related. Maybe two people showed up in the wrong place at the wrong time at Lake Herman Road, and somebody's writing letters taking credit for murders that he didn't commit. But we should also say that Dennis Land, this Thomas Horton suspect in the Lake Berryessa stabbing, was an associate of Hal Snook. He met him at Napa Valley Junior College, and allegedly Dennis Land would also frequent Hal Snook's failed sporting goods store that eventually went out of business. But and they were hunting buddies, allegedly, and I mean, this is what some things that have been shared about this. So that is the way that the theory was presented in The Myth of the Zodiac Killer, as well as what you can hear from Thomas Henry Horn on the internet and his show, the Stones Unturned podcast. But it's a very good observation from RoxyBot, because I have made a similar observation myself. But sometimes with these AMAs, we like to listen, or read rather, some borrowed questions, and we often start the show with a borrowed question that we get from somebody else's channel or page, or even sometimes it can be just something that somebody has asked me personally. And I came across one from the Instagram page Zambian Reader, and they said, "Are you the kind of person that reads one book at a time, or do you read multiple books at once?" And I have to be the second. I'm always reading, like, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 different books at a time, and I used to say that's why I never finish any of them. Things have been a little bit better this year, and we made it through several Zodiac Killer books, but also there have been some other ones that I've just been reading on my own, like we did A Mindful Nation by Tim Ryan, and I was thinking about doing something on the Anything Goes segment, which is talking all about mindfulness, mental awareness education, and we did get to share a little bit of that in some of the AMAs. Feeling something, but it's definitely not ecstasy. And in regards to that, it was a good book, but it brought back a whole bunch of really lousy childhood memories and such about how, just how our educational system isn't very good, and the way that people would try to solve the problem just by over controlling the situation. That was a new word, over control. They want to use over control to solve all the problems, and just think that if I get really angry at somebody, maybe they will be different tomorrow. And that, of course, doesn't necessarily seem to work too well. So I read that one. I'm currently reading the book The Tattered Passport by David Snell, which is kind of like travel writing. It's mostly just sharing some different experiences from going to a lot of places. There's some good stuff in there about what it's like to visit Nigeria, as well as Central America. Some stuff about places that I've never been to before. I've never been anywhere in Sub-Saharan Africa, actually. Also never been to Central America. Perhaps I should put that stuff on the bucket list. But I do have an update in regards to borrowed or stolen questions. We once began the AMA once by using one from Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, which said that if you could live anywhere in your state, where would you go? Where would you go? Like, where would you move to? I think it was. And I said that I would go to a town called Wakeville, which is in West Virginia's enclave in the Jefferson National Forest. That is going to stay the same. But the second one was, if you could move anywhere outside of your state, and I'm sure they mean within the country, if you could move anywhere in America that is not in your state, West Virginia, where would you go? And I thought about that for a little bit, and I just said San Diego because I didn't really have a good answer. I have to change that. Where would I go? Montana. We've been talking so much about the Unabomber and Ted Kaczynski and the possible Zodiac Killer connections, as well as some of the things we were saying on Monday about Donald Lee Booyock and the murder of Otto Fawson. And hearing all that stuff about Montana, I would just get so curious what it would be like to be out there, because I don't know about you guys. When you hear about Ted Kaczynski just living in his little tiny cabin that they ended up putting on the back of a truck and driving out for the trial, I'm curious what that lifestyle would be like. Not the murders or anything like that, but what would it really be like, just living the Unabomber lifestyle and just you're on your own in just that little cabin out in Montana, Lincoln, Montana, wasn't it? And Donald Lee Booyock was from Roundup, Montana, and we pulled up the map on Monday looking at the counties like Muscle Shells and Petroleum and Phillips, and I mean, that's what Kevin Robert Brooks uses actually in his theory about why the Zodiac Killer had the possession of a Phillips Petroleum map, thinking that that is a signal. I don't exactly entertain that type of thinking, but I do have a comment actually from one of our Donald Lee Booyock uploads. And this one comes to us from Berg, who has something to say about Donald Lee Booyock. And he says, I should provide a little bit of context. Donald Lee Booyock was released from prison on December 17th of 1968. The first confirmed Zodiac Killer murders took place on December 20th of 1968, meaning that he would have gone from Montana to the San Francisco Bay Area in 3 days, committed the murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, and then the Zodiac Killer has been completely born. But the comment here is from Ferg, and first I would say that okay, actually that's the second thing. Secondly, I would say that it's possible for someone to go from Montana to California in 3 days, so I won't even challenge Kevin Robert Brooks on the timeline. Instead, Ferg says 3 days, and he has the gun, hood, and all GTF. Firstly, is GTF like get the fuck? I know maybe GTFO, but get the fuck with what, Ferg? Anyway, 3 days, and he has the hood, the gun, and all. No, not yet. The hood was only used one time, and that was at the Lake Berryessa stabbing on September 27th of 1969. At the Lake Herman Road shooting, there has never been any witness sighting, to the best of my knowledge, of seeing the Zodiac hood, and also it's important to note that that crime occurred in the dark at night, whereas the Lake Berryessa crime took place during the daylight. That is the only time in which there was a confirmed Zodiac Killer incident that took place in the daylight. So that's one of the motivations for wearing the Zodiac Killer hood. But so it's not 3 days and he has the gun, the hood, and all. I mean, obtaining a firearm, okay, maybe he obtained a firearm within 3 days. I'm sure a lot of criminals get out of jail and they can obtain a firearm within 3 days. But in regards to this, no, he wouldn't have had the Zodiac Killer hood yet, nor is there any expectation that anybody was in possession of the Zodiac Killer hood anywhere on the planet Earth on December 20th of 1968. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but it wasn't seen in public until the 27th of September 1969. What is that, like nearly 9 months later on? So that's what that is good though to talk about Donald Lee Booyock as a Zodiac Killer suspect, because Kevin Robert Brooks seems very passionate about it. He has a lot of things that have been built up in terms of a circumstantial case, but I do have to insist, anyone who is putting forward a suspect, and Kevin Robert Brooks does this as well, who says that your suspect wore a wig to meet the physical descriptions, is that not just making an assumption? Is that not just saying that, okay, well, the person I'm thinking about doesn't match the physical descriptions, therefore they had to have been wearing a wig? And because, like, I was quite surprised when I noted that, because I think such a better way to go about some of these long-haired descriptions of the Zodiac Killer is that maybe he was wearing that hood at Lake Berryessa because he wanted to hide his long hair, and right before the Paul Stein shooting, he got a haircut. And that's not my own original observation. It was from Mae Brussel, and I think in 1978, but she was reading off a letter that someone else had written, Mae Brussel, the host of Dialogue Conspiracy, And what that was saying is that their suspect, Robert Linkletter, was known to frequently change his appearance. He was known to sometimes have his hair long, sometimes have his hair short. And I mean, I'm sure the primary motivation for the Lake Berryessa attack was the perpetrator wanted to wear that hood. And I don't think there's any way in which he could have known that Brian Hartnell would survive the stabbing. It's my my understanding, as well as many other people do think like this, that that individual wanted to use the hood as something that was very significant. It had meaning to the killer. It had meaning to the perpetrator. There was a reason why he was wearing the hood. It wasn't just a ski mask. I guess I'm trying to say I haven't seen a single piece of conclusive evidence that would ever determine that the Zodiac Killer ever wore a wig. And if we want to talk about hair length, because it's such a wonderful subject, going over to our next comment from WTF Scene, who has left one on our Unabomber upload. One of them, actually. We have three different things about Ted Kaczynski here on this channel, and the first one is just called the Zodiac Unabomber Connection. I would invite everyone to lay it out, to look at what we laid out in that one, because Mark Hewitt wrote a lot of the substance material for that one, and that's the one that I would recommend the most out of all of these. But this one was called The Zodiac and the Unabomber, Oswell, Penn, and Hodel. Of course, talking about Douglas Oswell, author of the book of that name, Gareth Penn, author of Time 17, and Steve Hodel, author of the book Most Evil Part 2. And Steve Hodel also has written the Black Dahlia Avengers series. And WTF Scene says, after seeing a few documentaries about the Unabomber and discovering that he was deliberately putting fingerprints and DNA from other people in his bombs and letters to confuse the FBI, I strongly believe that he could be the Zodiac Killer. Reading his diaries makes sense about the way he talks about his victims. There's simply too many similarities between the two. I mean, it is true. Ted Kaczynski did that. If everything that we've learned from the sources that have been available to the media is true, what he would do is he would go into public restrooms and he pulled out pubic hairs from the toilet and included those in the bombs so that when the FBI would be investigating them, they would find like these pubic hairs of men that were not him to confuse the FBI. And in regards to hair length, that wasn't the hair length that I was talking about. What was it called? The Unabomber in His Own Words. It's like a multi-part documentary that is available here on YouTube for free. What Ted Kaczynski would do is he would have a long beard, right? I'm sure you've seen a photo of the Unabomber with a beard, and he would shave his beard before he would go out in public. And he actually went from Montana down to Salt Lake City, delivered the bomb, then went back to his cabin in Montana. But he didn't let his neighbors see him until his beard had grown back, so then they wouldn't be able to match him to any of the witness descriptions. Firstly, they would think that he is just, holed up in his cabin, he's being a hermit, he's being a recluse. That's the way that Ted Kaczynski was, and then like, I mean, they're just not paying attention to him. And the second thing is that he wouldn't match any of those eyewitness sightings that would be seen in the vicinity. This is exactly what they were saying about Robert Linkletter. As a suspect, Robert Linkletter has never been confirmed to be the Zodiac Killer, of course, but that is a very big similarity. And you do notice this with a lot of the things about Ted Kaczynski as the Unabomber. Not only is he very methodical, not only is he doing lots of calculated moves, as we said about, planting false hair samples, but he is also someone who isn't doing this extremely regularly. He has a very odd time frame. Like, there are just months and sometimes years going on in between his destructive episodes. And there were some other things they brought up, though, about Ted Kaczynski once started striking an axe against the wall or door of someone else's property in Lincoln, Montana, breaking out into a fit of rage. He was known to do things like that as well, but you do find that stuff from serial killers from time to time, and I mean, they even said that about Joseph D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer, that he seemed like he was mostly in control, but he could then just break out into these fits of rage. So, it really is quite confusing how serial killers function. But in regards to Kaczynski as the Unabomber, a lot of people want to look at him as a serial killer, and they want to be like, okay, he's sending these bombs, he's trying to kill people. It's all done for the same reasons that many other serial killers have in the United States of America. They feel rejected from society, they feel like they are unsatisfied, they feel like they are very gifted, but they aren't getting the recognition they deserve. They're getting rejected by women, not only society. But I believe that Sigmund Freud had some things to say about sex and how that can affect somebody in certain ways. No, but I do mean that. I shouldn't say that in a silly way because that really is a very large reason about why many of these individuals, these serial killers, are driven to commit these types of murders. There's this type of sexual frustration that turns into sexual rage, but it's often concealed. However, I found an old episode from of Black Box Online Radio, not the one that was reported that got us that wonderful copyright strike. Put that up there with a badge of honor, of course, but this was a one that was done from around the same time period in the late summer of 2019, and it was on Beata Shapa. It's called Beata Shapa, the Nazi Bride Murders. And the Nazi Bride was a name that was given to her by the German media. And she was involved with a group called the NSU, and they launched a bombing campaign. They would make nail bombs, and they were serial murderers in Germany. But they didn't have a lot of these characteristics that Ted Kaczynski had. And I just found it, and I was like really looking at the similarities between Beata Shapa and Ted Kaczynski. And this group of three, the NSU, it's like they're outgoing, they're going to um, events, like they have an RV and they're just driving around, going to different campsites, mingling with people, socializing, having a good time. There's even a video of Beata Shapa participating in an exercise video, and people are saying that, like, if you're in a bad mood, she's the one to cheer you up and such. Not everybody really develops that type of, like, I just need to withdraw from society and spend all my time alone, because the media really tries to portray a lot of individuals like that, like a lot of serial killers have to fit that type of mold. That, okay, yeah, they're polite, they'll put on a fake smile, but in reality they're just spending all their time by themselves thinking about killing people. Another exception to that would be somebody like, even like John Wayne Gacy, who we talked about a lot at the end of 2020. We did 3 episodes on John Wayne Gacy, including the discussion on the play Pogo, which was an excellent read. You can find that online. And you can find it in our John Wayne Gacy Q&A. We have a link to that. But with this type of material, Gacy was involved with countless community events. Ted Bundy was involved with countless community events. I mean, both of them were even political activists and involved in, like the involved in party politics and such. So, when we're looking at the psychological profile of someone like the Zodiac Killer, almost everyone thinks that he's somebody who would have been spending a lot of time by himself, someone who would have been very solitary, but then working a regular job that doesn't interact with a lot of people. You can find these descriptions going out. With Ted Kaczynski, it's very similar. He was someone who just holed up in Montana, and if I recall from that documentary, The Unabomber, in his own words, they're saying that his parents actually sent him a stipend. They had some money that they would send annually, or I mean, every so often, to Ted Kaczynski and his brother. But then what they would do is they would use that to, Ted Kaczynski would use that to fund his life in Montana. However, as much as I would love to be out there, I mean, it definitely does give somewhat of a sour connotation to living that lifestyle. I mean, if you were just to recreate Ted Kaczynski's life, um, there really is a sour connotation because he did go on to become a very heinous murderer. He definitely was someone who murdered fewer people than the Zodiac Killer. Only 3 people were confirmed to have been murdered by the Unabomber. And of course, some people think the Zodiac Killer and the Unabomber are one and the same, and they think that he committed more people. But the Zodiac Killer actually murdered more people than the Unabomber did. The Unabomber had more injured individuals, but the Unabomber murdered 3 people. The Zodiac Killer murdered at least 5 people, but claimed the responsibility for 37 murders. Okay, and other than feeling a little bit warm, not too much is going on with these Katy pills. So, I guess we'll see if anything picks up in the second part of the show. But that's all for me in this segment, and we will be right back after a very quick message. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum. At this time, I would like to talk about some of the ways in which you can help Black Box Online Radio. This channel relies on your support, and the best way you can help out is just by listening to some more content. If you like what you hear, you can hit that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends on social media. But I should also say that Black Box Online Radio now has a Teespring page, and there will be some links in the description box. Please feel free to check out some of the merchandise that is available. Almost all sizes and colors are listed. So, you can also help out by going over to the Zodiac Killer channel and watching the documentary series Obsession into Darkness, parts 1, 2, and 3. I was one of the contributors for that, and you can see some other great Zodiac content on the Zodiac Killer channel. And yes, there will be a part 4 of Obsession into Darkness at some point in the future. And for now, let's get back to the show. Hey, hello, welcome back. In that little break time in between that part 1 and part 2, something kinda happened with the Katy that I've been doing, and really not what I thought it when I just like don't want to get up, like with Ecstasy, you always hear these things about people going to the nightclub and dancing, and I remember people that I've seen at parties who've taken Ecstasy, and they would want to move around a lot. They would even just sit up and stand up and then sit down and get down, and really not like that. I mean, at the end of part 1, I was really feeling like all warm and stuff, and then I went, please forgive my crude nature, but I went to the toilet because I had to poop, and then I was like, oh, it's gone, it's like, but, yeah, then, like, I just sat back down, and, yeah, something. I don't think these things are completely fake, but yeah, so to help us out as we kind of see what these things are going to do, I'm over on the website called Personnel, and they have 116 deep questions that will strengthen your connection. Question number 1, what is your best childhood memory? Yeah, childhood? Oh dear. I definitely had a very good one when I was just like, oh my gosh, my eyes are closing. Is this normal? I just want to be like, I want it dark. All memories are good. All of it. But I remember being at the beach, and I remember thinking that the waves look really small, but I was just really far away, because next year when we went back to the same beach, I was up closer, and I thought the waves were really big. But, of course, I really began to love my dogs that we had growing up, and my family actually told me a weird lie that my father was allergic to dogs, so we couldn't have them. But yeah, I just want to keep my eyes closed. This is not what I expected. I feel like I'm in a coma. I can talk, but I don't want to move. But they told us that my father was allergic to dogs and we couldn't have dogs. But then what they were saying was that my parents got divorced, we moved into my grandmother's house, and she always had dogs. And then they were some really good experiences. We had 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of them during my childhood, and I've just been really missing all of them, and especially the dog that we had the longest. We got her when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, I think the 6th grade, and we had her all the way up till I was in grad school, and I think about her all the time. What is your worst childhood memory? Hey, we don't have time for that. What was your biggest fear as a child? I really don't like the light. Like, I want to read these questions because they're all about, like, deep thinking. But as soon as I, like, open my eyes to read, the light just makes it worse. And, wow, like, you think people with on ecstasy would like lights, and this isn't real. I mean, this is just something that I bought for $20 on the internet. but I just kind of like want to curl up into a little coma. And it's getting warmer. Holy crap. I guess this is kind of cool. Like, it's not what I expected. I mean, like, when I see people on Ecstasy, they're like, in a good mood and such. But, they want to like move around and talk to people. And I just want to be like frozen. I want to be like paralyzed. I want to just be like in this little state where no one can, wake me up from my coma. Oh my gosh. This year is 2021, and I'm really thinking about swearing off politics and religion for the channel. But we did an episode last year called The Dream of Mortal Life, the Holy Trinity. And that was the most frustrating episode that I ever made for Black Box Online Radio. We were discussing the book The Dream of Mortal Life, which is put out by Marvelous Work and a Wonder. And yes, it's a book about religion and states of being. And they're the group that also talks a lot about simulation theory. But they were putting out this book called The Dream of Mortal Life. And we did a big thing on the Holy Trinity. And I said it was the most frustrating because it took like 6 different times of doing the episode to get it right. Not just like this, when I can just be like, hey, I took a pill and now I'm talking. No, I actually had to read a book. Holy crap. I always read 6 books at a time and I never finish them. I finished that one though, and that was cool. And then it's just like, you just keep trying to get your words right, and you just had to stop and start over 6 different times, and I was so frustrated. But I'm going to include a link to that one, The Dream of Mortal Life, Holy Trinity, and then I will not be talking about politics and religion for the next maybe 2 weeks or something. No, that was a joke, for the rest of the year. There are other things to talk about, but I wouldn't swear it off completely, just probably putting it in the almost never category. I'm opening my eyes for the next question, and we have, what was your favorite year of school? Um, my favorite year of school at the time, I think it was the ninth grade, age 14. That's the first one that comes to mind because there was, I mean, that's the first one that comes to mind. Doesn't mean it was the best. But age 14, like, I was done with all of that junior high roughhousing. People even talk about this when they say that there's a lot of teasing in elementary school, and then you get to middle school and junior high, and it all gets so much worse, like the 7th grade and the 8th grade, especially the 8th grade. The 8th grade was actually a really bad year for me, and then once I got to ninth grade, things really just got a lot better. People became a little bit more mature, and in my part of West Virginia, they were doing this experiment when they had the they had the what would it be called? The school board wanted to just have all ninth graders in their own school. It was called a ninth grade complex, and everybody in the school was roughly around your own age. So there's like no, seniors pushing around the freshmen or anything like that. And I think it was a really good experience for me. But looking back, I probably should say that the best year of my life was kindergarten, because that was when there were no problems. And there's even this show on the Disney Channel that I watched as a kid called Flash Forward that said you could embarrass yourself in kindergarten and everyone would forget in 3 days. So that doesn't happen in the 8th grade. And I didn't remember that from watching it as a kid. I was watching it yesterday because it was available on YouTube. And sometimes I do that. Over the past 12 months, I've had this very big desire to just go back and watch anything that just comes to mind, like in the past. I can't even move my legs. I can, but I don't want to. I just want to be in this, like, coma situation. I can move, but I feel better with my eyes closed. Holy crap, it's pulsating. Something is pulsating. Like, what does pulsate even mean? Oh, I thought these things were going to be fake because they're only $20. It's like 4 in a package or something. Is that $5 for one of these though? But oh, I I don't want to make any weird noises or anything like that. But over the last 12 months, I was just like always looking at some things from the past. Like I would remember, hey, what was that one TV show that was on in 2001? And then I would Google it and I would watch it, and I've gone through a couple of things like that. Or hey, what was that one episode of Criminal Minds where this one thing happened? I would just go back and watch it. And I really think it's kind of weird that I've been just trying to recreate things from the past, because there's so many new things out there. On the Instagram journal, I was talking a lot about The Mandalorian, and I love watching that, but it's new. Sometimes I want to see things that are old. Sometimes you just want to be different. Oh, I'm gonna open my eyes and read the next question. Oh no, my phone is black. How evil. How evil. Now I have to wait. There is no question. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's a real shame. I wanted to answer a question for you guys, but I can't. Oh. Oh. I really don't mean to make any weird noises or things like that. I just had the list of questions on my phone. Um, when was the first time you said I love you to someone other than in your family? I had an online girlfriend when I was 13, and her name was Sarah. She was from New York, and I was in West Virginia, of course. I moved to West Virginia when I was 7, so I was 13. Like, just been in and out of West Virginia ever since 1995. And we developed this online relationship, and I told her that I love you. We would say I love you very frequently. It's something that kids do. I got that thing where you smile and then, like, you don't know why you're smiling. And I know this is going to be really weird if anybody listens to it, but the point, the point of these things was to try the Katy pills to see what they do. And they're cool. But I do want to ask another question. When and where did you go on your first date ever? Well, Sarah and I were in an online relationship, which is just, little silly flirtatious messages between a 13-year-old and like a 15-year-old, as she was at the time. So that's not really a date or anything like that. My first date was actually when I was 14. As I said, I was a freshman year of high school, and we went to just watched a movie in her living room. Very evil person. I was saying some things about Sigmund Freud earlier, and now I just sort of recognize that she was the type of person who felt rejected by her father, and she had a mother that was passive and susceptible to her manipulations, so she developed a lot of tyrannical characteristics, and she would try and exert them out or force them out upon the world. I don't know what exert means, I shouldn't have said that. And then, like, people would get, like, really upset around her, but some people get addicted to the chaos. They just create the highs and the lows, and they don't want to be at the top. They want to be in the peak and the valley, but alternating, and like they go down and they crash and then they come up, and then it's just riding like a roller coaster. But it's not a roller coaster, it's real life. Roller coaster rides are like 1 minute, and this goes on and on for years. And it's really weird that they would want to do that. But then they just get addicted to the hot and the cold, the yes or your no. I think Katy Perry did it better than I can, because I can't talk too well. Oh, it feels so warm in here. And not partially because I have a space heater, but also because of other stuff. I know I'm just like whispering in a really weird way, and I think that's really weird. But I love you, all of you. I just want to say that. Oh wow, this is not what I expected. I really thought these things weren't gonna work, and I wanted to put this out because I thought that my I thought that they weren't gonna work, and I just wanted to tell everybody that so they wouldn't go out and buy them. And I don't think this is ecstasy. This is more just like when you get into your like comatose state or something, and you can't open your eyes because opening your eyes is bad. Did you ever hear the story about the man from the East and the man from the West? The man from the West met the man from the East, and he said, How should we learn the truth? And the man from the east said, How do you learn the truth? And the man from the west said, I open my eyes. I open my eyes. How do you learn the truth? And the man from the east said, I close my eyes. And the man from the West is, he's supposed to represent education and observations and studying and challenging and getting ready to fight. And the man from the East is supposed to represent self-reflection, inner peace. And what we're supposed to know is that peace has to exist, not only in an internal way, like inner peace and everything zen and, like balancing your emotions, but also we have to learn from the man from the West that peace needs to exist in the external world as well. We need to just be aware that sometimes we have to stand up and fight for goodness, but also we need to allow goodness to enter into ourselves. That was my takeaway from that. I read that in a book in 2012 by Dr. Amit Goswami. He was from the Quantum Activist and What the Bleep Do We Know? But he wrote a book called God Is Not Dead, and I don't think that's the same as the movie that was produced by Kevin Sorbo, because Kevin Sorbo was talking about something else. And but there's a movie out there also called God Is Not Dead, but I don't think they're the same thing. And oh my God, I'm gonna open my eyes and read the next question. I know I'm talking in this weird whisper way, but I want to. Okay, so the next one is, what did you want to be when you grew up? When I first remember this, I wanted to be a furniture salesman. How crazy is that? But I didn't want to do it in a normal way. The real thing is, I wanted to kind of the only way I can describe this in adult terms is maybe work at one of those flea markets or outdoor shopping malls, because as a kid I really liked trucks and I wanted to have a white pickup truck and I wanted to fill it with furniture and just drive to different expo sites. And I know it sounds really crazy when you say it like that, but for a childhood imagination, that's just like, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have a white pickup truck full of stuff? Little kids like cars. I must have been 4 or 5. My sister is a doctor now, but when she asked me that about what I wanted to be, and I said I wanted to drive a white pickup truck and sell furniture out of the back of it, she said she wanted to be the manager of Chuck E. Cheese. She said she wanted to work at Chuck E. Cheese because it's a really nice place and they sell pizza and they sing songs. But she also said that because it was just a cool place to be. Now she's a doctor, and I'm not a furniture salesman. But I wouldn't be a furniture salesman if they don't let me drive the truck. And how cool would that be, though, if you just drive your pickup truck to flea markets and you sell coffee tables and dinette sets and wooden chairs and such? Weird. When I said that word dinette just now, I felt I felt like something bad, or I felt like I was back to reality for a second. Right now I'm on another planet, or I'm like the East and the West sort of thing there. And I'm going to open my eyes and read another question. It feels so weird when I do that, because I'm like, I don't want to, but I want to go to the next one. What was your favorite game to play? And it doesn't say about when. What is your favorite game to play? What do they mean? With your ex-wife or something like that? Because that's a different kind of game than other things. What do they want me to say? My favorite game? I like basketball. I don't know why when I said basketball, I just felt electricity through my whole body. Oh dear Lord. Oh dear Lord. I really hope you guys listen to those things about the Zodiac Killer and the Unabomber, because I can't talk about that stuff now. There's so much murder and evil in the world, and I just want to love everyone. Oh my gosh. Oh dear Lord. Peace, love, kindness, and generosity for all. Oh, by the way, these things work. I didn't think they would work. I'm gonna have to stop recording because I'm just gonna start huffing and puffing and blowing the house down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh. If you ever do these Katy pills, you need to keep your eyes closed. Maybe if you have people around. What do you admire most about your parents? Well, now is a good time to ask me that when I'm just like a cloud and such. You would ask me this, and other times I'd say something different, but right now I would say that they never abandoned me. Both of them wanted to always stay. I actually had a lot of things to say about mom and dad, but if I have to say something good about them, neither one of them ran away from me. I'm gonna have to stop recording because like I'm just laughing and I know no one wants to hear me laugh. I mean, and like I know that I wasn't supposed to talk about religion anymore, but then I'd mentioned God is not dead. But is that religion or is that spirituality? And are those things like the same thing? Because I don't think they are. I have that electricity running through my body. And you know what I mean? It's not electricity. Oh, I moved my hand and I ruined it. It was feeling so good. But you know what I mean? It's like it's not electricity. You just feel like, something like there's this surge in your muscle groups and such. It doesn't feel like you've actually been shocked by a current. Wow. Wow. I had something else to say, like the man from the east and the man from the west. I gotta stop moving my hand. If I move anything, I just don't know. I don't know how you could ever do this in a nightclub. I mean, it just kind of turns you into this comatose, paralyzed turtle shell of an individual. Do you people think that Mitch McConnell looks like a turtle? I don't know when that started. I never thought that until they started saying it. Now I can't unsee it. Oh, I'm trying not to scream. Holy crap, I feel like when Harry met Sally or something, and then I'll have what she's having. Oh my gosh. Do you ever get those smiles on your face and you just can't turn them off? I don't expect you to keep listening if you want. I think I might be giggling for a little bit longer, and giggling is horribly unattractive when you're a 32-year-old male. Maybe when you're somebody else or something like. Now I'm sharing too much info. I was actually about to go down a very deep rabbit hole. Okay, I was going to talk about porn, but I'm not going to talk about porn because that's like, yeah, I'm not drunk or anything. I'm just like in the clouds. Oh my gosh. I had something to say about clouds, but I don't even know. Like back when I was a kid, I used to say that I wanted to create this book of poetry when I would just sort of look at the clouds at various times throughout the day, and then I would write a poem about this story that could be made from it. Like the reason why was when I was in the eighth grade, pardon, je m'excuse. That means pardon, excuse me, I think. I don't speak French or anything. That was weird. But like it was the summer in between eighth grade and ninth grade because I was in Sarasota, Florida, and I live in West Virginia. But we went to Florida that year, first time to Disney World and Orlando and Universal. And then we drove over to Sarasota, and I was on the beach looking at the sunset over the ocean. The first time I had ever seen that because on the East Coast the sun rises over the ocean, but we were on the Gulf of Mexico, and I was looking up at the clouds, and I was like, wow, it looks like this giant pit of fire. Isn't that crazy that what people call the heavens looks so much more like hell during the sunset? And there's also this folk song that was made popular by the Dubliners that says that the sun has come to earth. Now the sun has disappeared. Twisted, sightless wrecks of men go groping on their knees and cry in pain. And I always thought that that was such a bitter, morbid ending to a wonderful song about the sun. And I was like, I would just want to sit down every night and watch the sunset or maybe watch the sunrise and look at that and see, am I going to see something different? Am I going to see a lake of fire in the sky every night, or am I going to see something else? And the electricity is getting more intense now, but I don't want to turn it off because I can't. It's not in my hands now. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. Didn't I say something before about bad childhood experiences in the book A Mindful Nation by Tim Ryan? I don't have those now. I don't know what those are. All I know is that my eyes are closed and the world is still around me. But some people don't think the world is always around them. Some people think that when, like, you go out of your living room and you go into your bedroom, that only your bedroom exists and there are no other things. Like, there's no house, there's no ground, there's no earth, but there's still existence, and they always forget that. And if existence is present, then the conscious experience of existence is also present, and then we have existence and consciousness at the same time. And the fact that existence and consciousness are always present at the same time creates bliss. Bliss defined as faultlessness. Faultlessness meaning that it's always there. It's perfect. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I found this stuff on Google.com. I was just reading up on things and I was like, it's not from Amazon. I don't know where it's from. Oh, when I said that word Google. Oh my gosh, I said the word Google and I ruined it. I ruined it. Oh no, I don't feel the magic anymore. I feel like I'm falling. I feel like I'm falling. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. Oh no. Please come back. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum. At this time, I would like to remind everybody about YouTube Premium. If you use the YouTube Premium features, you can download Black Box Online Radio, take it on the go, out walking, in the car, anywhere and anyhow. YouTube Premium also gives you access to special YouTube original shows and YouTube music. And now, let's get back to the episode. Hello and welcome back. I guess I need to say that it's been several hours since I've done those Katy pills. There's been a bit of a hiatus in between these recording segments because I'm now back to my senses. I was rather pleased to know that they actually do seem to have some real effects. I mean, I said it once, but just to say it again, one of the big reasons for trying that one while I was recording is I thought that they were just going to be useless, that they were going to be a rip-off product, and yeah, I'm curious what it would be like, but also I wanted to just alert, anyone who might listen to it, and then they could find out that this thing is a dud, please don't buy it. But no, it does do something, but a very short high, like the peak benefits were pretty much what was recorded, and it only lasted about 25 to 30 minutes, like the peak benefits. And as soon as that recording ended, the high, the buzz, the feelings of euphoria pretty much ended, and I was even saying that the feeling was falling down. So a very short high, but it's $20. I guess that's like $5 for each one. You got a pack of four. I guess you're getting what you pay for, more or less, but I'm definitely not disappointed with the experience. So, but when I have seen people do ecstasy, at the club or at parties and such, that definitely appears to be more intense. Once again, I have not done it myself, but their reactions seem definitely more well just intense, and it lasts for a much longer time, definitely more than 25 to 30 minutes, as well as I was at this one party once where someone tried ecstasy for the first time, and she was just really wanting people to just kind of put pressure on her body in weird ways, not in a sexual way, but just kind of like put your hand against her rib cage and just put pressure. All of that stuff was exactly true for the Katy pills. It's like just like having the pressure against your skin felt really good for some reason, but it was completely true about how you just didn't want to move. And as soon as I stopped the recording, I just had to put on some techno music because I was really thinking that it wasn't really something that would be good for a nightclub, but once the recording stopped, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to hear something. I can't just sit here in silence. So I had to just put something on, and I chose techno music because, well, why not? And that was something that I wanted to last for a while. But because the high is so short, I wanted to just get out of it. I mean, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's like if the buzz is going down, it's like I'd rather just get it over with, like as opposed to just having like something that's just kind of like a really mild thing. The only way I can describe this in any terms that would make sense is it would be like if you were taking a shower and the water just really wasn't a good temperature for you, well, you just want to do it really quickly and you want to get out. I mean, because I was crashing so hard, and I really found that movement would deteriorate the buzz as well. But yeah, we're moving on in this segment. As I said, it's been several hours since I've done all that, and I also crashed hard. Later on, I was asleep for like 3 solid hours, and because like you get pulled up and then you get pulled down more or less. And we're going to be continuing with the AMA, that's the Ask Me Anything, and I have to turn to one that I learned about from Scott Adams. I watch his show Real Coffee with Scott Adams rather frequently, and yesterday on the show they were asking the question about how many of your memories do you think are actually real? Like, of course, I mean, you're going to remember things like I went to somebody's birthday party in 2015, sure, but when it comes to specific information and specific material, the brain is so bad with that. And I've said this once, and I will say it again. So many times I have been watching a movie or reading a book, and I found a line that I thought was so funny, so brilliant, so insightful that, it just became a quote that I turned to for inspiration. But then, like a couple years later, I would go back and watch the same movie or read the same book, and I would find out, well, the character didn't actually say that. They, said something similar, but it's not exactly what I was remembering. And I think that's more what he was talking about, like the inability to remember exact language, the inability to remember the exact course of events. And bear in mind that some people have just flat out false memories. And there are a few reasons for that we can talk about in just a second. But when he asked that question, I was thinking about all of those experiences, let alone childhood imagination when kids aren't really paying attention and they aren't 100% aware of what they saw. So that was, I'd say, maybe 60% of your childhood is probably not exactly as you remember it. I mean, if we're going to talk about the literal historical timeline, 60% maybe has some type of misinformation in it, and 40% is probably much more precise. Those would be the things like, all right, I had a chocolate cake at my 5th birthday, which I think is true to the best of my knowledge. That for years, I thought that was my 3rd birthday, and I would always tell people I could remember my 3rd birthday so easily. That was the time that my mother made the cake that just fell apart on the plate. But like based on where we were living and based on the course of events, I was like, no, I must have been at least 5. And you see how memories can get all jumbled, and then the brain just puts little things in place to try and understand them more. So I would say 60% could be some type of fictitious additive is mixed in with all that. But also, I've met people who start telling stories that are not true, and they know that it's not true. They start talking about something that is just it didn't really happen. And at first it's a joke, or at first they're just making something up because they have a reason. Like, say, for example, you're trying to get out of trouble, or say, for example, you're trying to build yourself up, and they just keep living that lie for so long that they forget the actual thing that really happened. And then they start talking about this fiction that they created as if it were real. And yeah, if somebody does that once or twice, it's no big deal, right? But if someone is doing that regularly, oh my gosh, it can be such a huge problem interacting with that person because Well, for the literal reason that they can't differentiate between fantasy and reality, and then they've actually done so. It actually becomes somewhat of a destructive element. Okay, now I would like to go on to just one more borrowed question, and then we will get back to some of the material about UFOs. This one is from Sway Lee Precious on Twitter, who says, do you separate someone's social media from who they are as a person, or their social media is a mere image of them? I guess we should say that with a little bit of a different intonation. Is their social media a mere image of them? I think that at a certain point you have to separate someone's social media from them, because what a lot of people do is they cherry pick the material that they're going to be putting out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They are only going to be showing the good sides. They don't always want to show the bad sides unless they're someone who is really looking for a lot of sympathy or empathy. They're talking about the lousy day that they had, and sometimes, though, I mean, who hasn't done this once or twice? You just want to share something about a bad day that you were having on Facebook because that's just the only way to go about it, especially to people who are working very solitary jobs or something, who don't really have a lot of other people to interact with. It can be a way to connect with other individuals. But the problem is now, so many people that I interact with are just purely Facebook friends that I've met from other like discussion groups. I've never met them face to face, so I don't have anything else to add on. All I know about them is Facebook, and then Instagram connects with Facebook and it recommends their profiles. That's all I know about them. So in many ways, it's like I'm not able to differentiate what is it like, what was this person like 10 years ago versus what are they like on Facebook now? And when it comes to the celebrities and the famous people, with them, I definitely differentiate their social media versus the way they act on film or in interviews. And you definitely notice differences, and you always get skeptical. Hey, wait a second, is that person really running their social media? Because with them, they're just kind of like putting on this polite facade on social media to attract followers, or they're definitely not trying to scare their followers away. And in interviews, perhaps they share a few more things about their genuine lives and their personal life and such and their stories, and they're getting a little bit more real. And then when you really got to wait for the autobiography or the documentary to learn everything that is going on with the person. Okay, now I said we would do something about UFOs, and I have to give a big shout out to Steve, who had a request. And what YouTube user Steve has said is, in the next AMA, can you talk about the David Fravor UFO counter? And I would love to. This was actually one that came 2 weeks ago. I meant to talk about it last week, so I'm getting to it this week. And also, if you have any questions that you would like covered here on the channel, subjects, ideas, things that you would like discussed, please drop something below. Any subject is fair game. We don't talk a lot about UFOs, but any subject is fair game, right? So why not? And I am very skeptical with this stuff. So there are a few key markers that I was looking for. And in terms of this particular UFO encounter, you can even get online, you can find it under the Tic Tac UFO sighting, the Tic Tac UFO encounter. Number one, you're dealing with somebody who is not just some guy with binoculars or a telescope. David Fravor coming from the military, and he seems like he has somewhat of a credible background. And I was watching the stuff that he had on Joe Rogan, as well as something new called like Lex or something like that. I had never heard of the guy before, but apparently he has a very big following, doing some similar things, talking about the stuff that Joe Rogan likes to talk about. And I was also going through some of the articles, and we have one here from Time Magazine, and this one was written by Billy Perigo. I'm trying to get better at citing these sources so we can deal with those copyright strikes. A former Navy pilot has opened up about an otherworldly experience he says it happened in 2004. His testimony comes just days after the Pentagon officially revealed the existence of a secret office investigating the existence of UFOs. Oh yeah, this was back in 2017, and many people in the government talk about UFOs, and they say that these things have existed for a while. One of them was Senator Mike Gravel, who was very passionate about this. Like, prior to running for president in 2020, I started reading up a lot on Mike Gravel and the things that he did back in 2008 when he was running for president in at that time. And I really found that there were so many videos online where he was talking about UFOs and the government is lying. And Mike Gravel was also a person who has caught the government um, in in the midst of their own naughty business in a variety of ways with the Pentagon Papers, and he's been not exactly a whistleblower, but someone who has helped out with other people in exposing the truth. Commander David Fravor, a former squadron leader who worked as a Navy pilot for 18 years, said on Monday that he was on a routine training mission off the coast of California in 2004 when his unit was directed to go and examine strange, unidentified objects that were descending from 80,000 feet to 20,000 feet and then disappearing. Upon flying 60 miles to the location, Fravor says he saw a tic-tac shaped object 40 feet long with no wings and was just hanging close to the water. In an interview with the Washington Post on Monday, he said it created a disturbance on the water uncharacteristic of a helicopter or plane and moved rapidly. The first thing is, when you're looking at a UFO encounter, is how many people were there? I mean, what did this person see? Like, is it just a flash of light in the sky and then something disappears? Is it something that lasted for 1 second, 1 minute? And David Fravor said in one of those interviews that I was just saying, whether it's with Lex or Joe Rogan, I'm not sure which one, but he's like, he had the opportunity to observe this thing for at least 5 solid minutes to begin with. And that means that the brain has a much higher chance of recording something in memory. I mean, we were just saying lots of memories can be faked, right? But you see, I come from the James Randi school of thought, and even dealing with something like this, I mean, the skeptics immediately go to saying, oh, you probably just saw lights in the distance and you didn't know where they were from, so the brain created this pattern that this is a UFO, right? But that is a very unsatisfying response, and many times it's a very dismissive response that isn't always going to be very accurate. And the UFO community gets so frustrated with skeptics because they're flat out not listening. There was even a video of Bill Nye, the science guy, debating someone about his own UFO encounter on CNN once, and that guy's just getting like angry with Bill Nye and calling him names and such because he's saying that this guy's experience did not happen. But in terms of lights in the distance, firstly, with photographs, I mean, the James Randi Educational Foundation did show how, like sometimes if you have a photograph, the moisture in the air can actually turn into orbs of light or just can reflect light in certain ways that would look like a UFO or also just look like some type of unidentified mass when in reality it's nothing more than just that, the reflections of light and moisture in the air. But that's not what David Fravor was experiencing. A tic-tac shaped object that is about 40 feet long with no wings. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have an explanation for this one. Because the skeptics also like to say, hey, look, this is a weather balloon. Hey, look, this is some type of radio equipment, or it's just some type of flying vehicle that wasn't meant to be there. Well, I don't really think that that fits into this pattern. But the other way of looking at this situation is another typical response would be that if this person saw it for just 1 second, then you can just be like, whatever. Maybe your eyes were playing tricks on you. I mean, I swear the other day I saw some light out of the corner of my eye, like a flash of light that was just against a blank wall. There shouldn't be anything there. That's probably just all it is. It's probably just a reflection from something, or perhaps I may even have blinked too fast and there's like this burning on my retina or something like that. Those things can definitely happen, but if you have the opportunity to observe something for more than 5 minutes, you probably know what you're looking at. when I was listening to a UFO skeptic debate, it was actually on the now deplatformed Free Domain Radio, and it was this guy's telling his story about how he saw something moving in the sky at a speed that was much faster than any airplane, than any helicopter, and his only explanation was if an object can move that fast, then it must have been alien technology. And the skeptical response from the host was, now wait a second, if you don't know what you saw in the sky, how can you provide an explanation about something in which its existence you're not certain of either? Like, you're talking about you don't know what you saw, and then your explanation is something that you don't know whether it exists or not. You're using the unknown to prove the unknown, and that's just always kind of stayed with me. But this isn't something that somebody would have seen for just 1 second, because there can be all kinds of things that could just move across the sky at a very high speed, and it really is. I mean, maybe that guy saw a shooting star, to be honest, but with this here, it seems like I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't have a skeptical response. And let's keep reading from the article. I can tell you, I think it was not from this world, Fravor told ABC News also on Monday. I'm not crazy, haven't been drinking. It was after 18 years of flying. I've seen pretty much everything I can see, and this was nothing close. Interest in Fravor's story has purged now that the Pentagon's information is in the public realm. A video of the encounter Fravor describes is included in one of 3 videos that have been cleared on Sunday for public viewing, which appear to show encounters between military pilots and what the Pentagon calls anomalous aerial vehicles. Hey, that is some crazy stuff, and maybe we will get answers about things in the future, but maybe then we actually will be dealing with otherworldly technology. Now, when it comes to UFOs, there's a particular individual named Travis Walton who was involved with a famous incident in Snowflake, Arizona. Travis Walton is, of course, the author of the book Fire in the Sky, which was previously known as the Walton Experience. However, Travis Walton went on a very famous coast-to-coast lie detector TV show called The Moment of Truth, and he answered every question truthfully, except for the one about, were you abducted by a UFO? What year was that? Was it 1976? Well, was he abducted by a UFO? And he failed that one. And when it comes to lie detectors, I like to play the Steve Wilkos card. If that gives you the desired result, if you get the result you want from a lie detector, then you would accept it, and then you would say it's true. But if it gave you the result that you didn't want, what did Travis Walton do? He says, oh, well, the test probably wasn't accurate. And in the past, Travis Walton had passed other lie detector tests, but they were just asking things like, did you see lights in the sky? I mean, did people leave you behind? And things of that nature. So I think that Travis Walton's credibility has really been damaged, and I'm not a body language expert, but when Travis Walton was on that show, I definitely caught signs of deception about how someone was trying to deceive people. I mean, that was just my vibe, my gut feeling, my first instinct. But another individual that I've listened to about UFOs has been none other than William Cooper, because I think William Cooper's experience is a little bit similar to David Fravor, someone who is in the military, someone who claims that they had a very definitive account of this. It's not like that guy who saw a shooting star in the sky. Fravor and Cooper both seem to be somewhat certain that they saw an object that didn't fit any of the criteria of something that could have been provided by earthly natural science, and it could have been an out of this world object. But what do you have to say about anything like that? I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have a good skeptical alternative to this David Fravor UFO encounter. Other people might simply be like, okay, well, there's something that this guy saw in the sky. Maybe it's just someone else's flight vehicle that wasn't supposed to be there, or some other type of flying object from another country that was violating airspace in another way. Well, that would be its own kettle of fish, and then it would just be like, okay, now that's an even worse mystery. Then we have like some new type of espionage technology. I wish I hadn't said that. But what do you have to say about UFOs? And we are now reaching the conclusion of our AMA, so I would like to thank everyone who has listened to this whole thing. Please leave some comments in the section below. What do you have to say about the Zodiac Killer, about Katy pills, the legalized form of ecstasy? And if you want to weigh in on UFOs or any of the challenge questions and borrowed questions that we have done, that's all for me now. See you on Instagram for the bonus podcast. Until next time.